the competitor within, surpassing yourself. What if I told you that your biggest competitor isn't the person sitting next to you? What if your greatest rival isn't your colleague who got the promotion? What if the one person standing between you and your dreams is staring back at you in the mirror? Today, we're diving deep into a truth that will change how you see progress forever. A truth that separates winners from wishers. A truth that transforms ordinary people into extraordinary achievers. Think of yourself as a competitor, not someone else. Key point: progress is not about losing yourself, but surpassing yourself. By the end of this video, you'll understand why comparing yourself to others is killing your potential. You'll learn the exact framework successful people use to compete with themselves, and you'll walk away with practical exercises to start surpassing your yesterday's self today. But first, let me ask you something. When was the last time you celebrated beating your own record? When did you last feel proud of improving, even if others were still ahead? If you can't remember, you're in the right place. Let's begin. In this video, we will discuss some argument, real-life example, command, prohibition, analogy, micro-practice, example, life application, life rise, the decline of life, to help you. Argument 1, the comparison trap. Here's the brutal truth about comparing yourself to others. It's a rigged game that you can never win. Think about it logically. There will always be someone richer than you, someone smarter than you, someone more talented than you, someone who started with better advantages. When you compete with others, you're playing a game with infinite players and moving goalposts. But when you compete with yourself, you control the rules. You set the standards. You define what winning looks like. Command: stop scrolling through social media for comparison. Start tracking your own progress instead. Real-life example 1. Consider Michael Jordan, widely regarded as the greatest basketball player ever. During his career, Jordan didn't focus on being better than Magic Johnson or Larry Bird. He obsessed over being better than the Michael Jordan from yesterday. Every practice session was about surpassing his previous performance. Every game was about improving one specific skill. This self-competition mindset led him to 6 NBA championships and a legacy that endures decades later. Argument 2, the authenticity advantage. When you compete with others, you lose yourself in the process. You start copying their strategies. You adopt their goals. You wear their masks. But here's what happens when you compete with yourself. You become more authentically you. You develop your unique strengths. You create your own path to success. Analogy: think of yourself as a tree. When you compete with other trees, you might try to grow like an oak when you're meant to be a willow. But when you focus on becoming the best version of your tree species, you grow tall, strong, and beautiful in your own unique way. Small exercise. Write down 3 of your natural strengths. Now, instead of comparing these to others, ask yourself, how can I make each of these 10% better this month? Argument 3, the progress paradox. Most people measure progress wrong. They think progress means beating everyone else. But real progress is deeply personal. Real progress is incremental improvement. Real progress is becoming slightly better than you were yesterday. Prohibition: never measure your chapter 1 against someone else's chapter 20. It's not fair to you, and it's not accurate. When you compete with yourself, every small win counts. Every 1% improvement matters. Every tiny step forward is a victory worth celebrating. Argument 4, the sustainable success model. Competing with others is exhausting. It's like running a race with no finish line. You're constantly looking over your shoulder. You're always worried about who's catching up. But self-competition is sustainable. It's energizing rather than draining. Life Rise example. When you focus on surpassing yourself, you enter what psychologists call a flow state. You're fully engaged, motivated by intrinsic rewards, and naturally productive. This leads to sustainable success that doesn't burn you out. Set 3 personal benchmarks this week. Track only your improvement against these benchmarks. Argument 5, the control factor. Here's something most people never realize. You have zero control over other people's performance. You can't control their advantages. You can't control their resources. You can't control their starting point. But you have complete control over your own improvement. You control your effort. You control your consistency. You control your learning curve. Real life example 2. Consider Oprah Winfrey's journey. She didn't compete with other talk show hosts or media personalities. Instead, she competed with her own limitations. Every interview was about being more empathetic than her last. Every show was about connecting more deeply than before. Every business decision was about being more authentic than her previous choices. This self-competition approach built a media empire worth billions and touched millions of lives. Argument 6. The innovation breakthrough. When you compete with others, you follow. When you compete with yourself, you innovate. Others show you what's already been done. You show yourself what's possible. Analogy. Think of self-competition like being a scientist in your own laboratory. Others might discover what's already known, but you're experimenting with possibilities that only you can create. Application in life. Instead of copying someone else's morning routine, create your own by improving one element each week. Maybe it's waking up 15 minutes earlier, adding a new healthy habit, or optimizing your workspace. Argument 7, the confidence builder. Competing with others often destroys confidence. You focus on what you lack. You highlight your weaknesses. You magnify your shortcomings. But competing with yourself builds unshakable confidence. Every personal victory, no matter how small, reinforces your belief in your ability to improve. Small exercise. Keep a personal wins journal. Write down one thing you did better today than yesterday. Watch your confidence grow over time. Argument 8, the fear elimination system. Fear of judgment keeps most people small. What will others think if I fail? What if I'm not as good as them? What if I embarrass myself? But when you compete with yourself, external judgment becomes irrelevant. Your only judge is your past self, and your past self is always rooting for your current self to win. Prohibition. Never let fear of not being as good as someone else stop you from being better than you were. Argument 9, the mastery mindset. Others compete for trophies. You compete for mastery. Others compete for recognition. You compete for growth. Others compete to prove their worth. You compete to discover your potential. Life fall example. Many talented individuals crash and burn because they built their identity on being better than others. When someone surpasses them, their entire self-worth crumbles. But those who compete with themselves have unshakable foundations because their worth comes from constant growth, not comparative position. Command. Replace am I better than them with am I better than I was last month. Argument 10, the legacy lens. At the end of your life, what will matter more? Or that you became the fullest expression of your unique potential. Your legacy isn't about where you ranked compared to others. Your legacy is about how far you traveled from where you started. Application in life. Start measuring your life in personal bests rather than comparative rankings. Track your growth in the areas that matter most to you. What we learned from this video. Let's recap the key insights that can transform your approach to progress. First, comparison is a trap that steals your joy and stifles your growth. Second, authenticity emerges when you stop copying others and start improving yourself. Third, sustainable success comes from internal competition, not external validation. Fourth, you control your improvement, but you can't control others' performance. Fifth, innovation happens when you compete with your own limitations. Sixth, confidence builds through personal victories, not comparative wins. Seventh, fear dissolves when external judgment becomes irrelevant. Eighth, mastery matters more than temporary superiority. Finally, your legacy is measured by your personal growth, not your ranking against others. Your transformation toolkit. Here are 3 immediate actions you can take. Action 1. Identify one area where you've been comparing yourself to others. Today, set a personal improvement goal in that area instead. Action 2. Create a progress tracker. Focusing only on your own improvements. Measure weekly growth in 3 key areas of your life. Action 3. Replace one social media scroll session daily with 10 minutes of reflecting on your personal growth and planning tomorrow's improvements. Final exercise. Write a letter to yourself from 1 year in the future. Describe how the competitor within mindset has transformed your life. Keep this letter visible as daily motivation. Remember, the most rewarding competition you'll ever engage in is the one against your yesterday's self. Every morning, you wake up with the opportunity to be slightly better. Every evening, you can celebrate the progress you've made. This is the path to authentic success. This is the way to sustainable growth. This is how you honor your potential while staying true to yourself. Before you click away, I want you to remember this moment. This moment when you realize that your greatest competitor has been with you all along. This moment when you understood that progress isn't about losing yourself, but surpassing yourself. Your journey of self-competition starts now. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when conditions are perfect. Now. Every small step you take from this point forward is a victory. Every 1% improvement is a win worth celebrating. Every day you choose to compete with yourself instead of others is a day you're moving closer to your fullest potential. The person you're becoming is cheering for the person you are today. Your future self is counting on your current self to make the right choices. And your past self would be amazed by how far you've already come. If this video changed your perspective, share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Subscribe for more content about unlocking your potential. And remember, in the game of self-improvement, you're not just a player. You're also the coach, the referee, and the champion. Make it count. The competitor within is waiting for you to begin. What are you waiting for? Your greatest competition starts now. Thank you for spending these few minutes with us today. We hope something here touched your heart and reminded you of your own strengths. Now we want to hear from you. Drop a comment below. What part spoke to you the most? How will you carry it into your life? Your voice matters. And when you share, you inspire more than you know. If this video gave you value, please like, subscribe, and pass it on to someone who might need this message today. Your support means the world to us. It helps us keep creating content that uplifts, encourages, and empowers. Until next time, stay inspired, stay growing, and never stop believing in your dream. Thank you.